It was a UK first.
Tonight we have our safe zone and we've made history.
In 2018, Ealing Council banned anti-abortion campaigners from approaching women right outside a local clinic. It meant they could be fined for singing, protesting, praying or leafleting within a 100-metre radius of here. A victory for pro-choice campaigners. What difference has the buffer zone made here in Ealing?
The buffer zone has completely eradicated any sort of intimidation and harassment for any clinic users going in. And the intimidation and harassment have been taking place here for 23 years, so quite a big difference. And there is actually a dedicated area where they are allowed to stand. There are rules within that, so they're not allowed to display graphic images, for example. In order for it to be upheld in court, they felt like it was an appropriate measure, but no subsequent buffer zone has had a designated area included.
Claire McCulloch is a founder of the Good Counsel Network, a religious group which still has a daily presence here.
We're seeing a lot less women who will stop and ask us for help. They won't even find us because we're so far from the abortion centre. So we feel that a lot of women who could have accessed a lot of help at the last minute, usually the most vulnerable kinds of women, are missing out on the opportunity to do that.
Before the buffer zone came in, were you or people who came to the vigils harassing women?
No, we weren't harassing women. You know, we have a prayer vigil and an outreach offering help.
If this is about advice and about prayer, surely it doesn't matter whether that is happening 150 metres down the road, does it?
Well, you say that. I mean, there's lots of occasions in life where we pray at the site of a tragedy.
Ealing's abortion clinic has been managed by Sally O'Brien for the last 7 years.
I've heard of people that have not come to their appointment on the day because they've been so harassed and upset. They would talk at them about how their decision was wrong, that they were murderers. They would press plastic fetuses into their hand and tell them that they would burn in hell if they continued. We have had a couple of times where people have breached the PSPO and placed themselves outside the clinic, singing, praying, and the police have had to intervene. But it's much, much better than it was. Every person should be able to attend a medical clinic unimpeded. It shouldn't be a postcode lottery as to whether or not you're going to be harassed.
Do not continue to look to this death clinic for salvation.
Scenes like this still face women accessing abortion and other services at NHS sites across Scotland. At Westminster, MPs have already backed nationwide buffer or safe access zones for England and Wales. There's one step to go before that's law.
Looks like we're tantalisingly close. It will be the culmination of a campaign to allow women bodily autonomy and just to exercise their legal right to have a completely legal medical procedure. The freedom of religion, thought, expression, that has always been outweighed by the right of the woman to have privacy and anonymity.
It's not guarantees, but there's an expectation that nationwide buffer zones could be in place here in England from the summer. This may affect some Scottish women who currently have to travel here because no Scottish Health Board provides abortions right up to the legal limit of 24 weeks. Some have only recently started offering them at 20 weeks. In Northern Ireland, nationwide buffer zones come into force from May after the Supreme Court ruled these did not disproportionately interfere with protesters' freedom of speech. Nicola Sturgeon unequivocally backed a bill on buffer zones. Ministers say it's legally tricky, but there's building frustration.
I think it'd be really disappointing if Scotland was the last country in the UK to implement this, because I think that, you know, there's been a lot of chances for us to get this in place ahead of England, ahead of Northern Ireland. The Scottish Government have dragged their feet a little with this campaign and they've just not seen it as a priority.
All I can say is that we are going to do this as fast as we possibly can. None of us are dragging our heels. We all want it to happen. We want to produce legislation that is robust.
Legal challenges could come from big anti-abortion groups like 40 Days for Life, who now have a presence in Scotland. Every year they ramp up efforts over Lent, which starts tomorrow.